Hello, I am Kellie Collins. I am your certified divorce planning professional, and I've got with me here one of my close friends and amazing realtor, Roni Haskell.
Thank you.
And Roni leads a team here in the Low Country, and she and I actually went through divorces at very similar times, and we leaned a lot on each other.
Yep.
So we've both been there, and we know that divorce sucks, but it's something you get through. And the important part is having people to lean on and professionals to help you out while you're dealing with your emotional stuff. So,
Yep.
Roni, would you like to say anything and introduce yourself?
Well, knowledge is powerful, right? And so a lot of anxiety, a lot of emotion is buried in the fact that you don't know who to turn to. There's a lot of factors that you're just uncertain about.
Right.
And at the onset of divorce, it's what attorney do I go to? Who do I turn to for real advice in the most humbling place of life, quite frankly,
Yeah,
right? Like, and
absolutely.
you're trying to keep everything so private. Um, and so you need somebody to turn to. And it's nice to have a team. It's great to have a strong attorney, but you got to have a strong financial team to back you up as well. So that's where I think we're in line with being able to assist people in the early stages.
Yes. So we want to, so basically, also part of one of the biggest reasons why I brought Rami on here is that the biggest asset in 99% of divorces is the marital home or even second homes and investment properties too in some cases. So when you are working with the marital home, we have to figure out what's going to happen to it.
That's right.
Can you stay? Can you not go? That's where I come in. Can you afford it and help with the budgeting piece? But more importantly, we have to know how much that home's worth because you've got to negotiate all the things around that.
Yeah.
And who's going to get it? Is there equity buyout? All of that. So Roni is my expert with all things real
Well,
estate.
it's what I do for a living is help determine marketable value for properties. And that's really all that you're after in this early stage of divorce is what is the property? What is the asset worth, right? Your attorney's going to turn to you and want you to create an itemized list of things that you own collectively. And part of that, to your point, Kellie, is yeah, your one of the largest assets is the home. And sometimes you do have multiple pieces of property that you've got to get evaluated. So you can turn to two different sources for insight on that. It's either an appraisal or a real estate broker. And so that's where I come in a lot of times, and I work closely with real estate brokers and I partner with Kellie and on the lending side, and we master plan really about what the value of that home is. And then is it the right thing for that person to stay or sell it? And so we'll talk around some of the different options in that. But yeah, so let me speak to him in a moment about between, the difference between an appraisal and a BPO or
Absolutely.
broker price and option, broker price option. We oftentimes, you may hear it in real estate called a CMA.
Yes.
Comparative market analysis. So whether it's a BPO or a CMA, it's it goes kind of hand in hand. So your BPO, your broker price option, is a letter. So I will take the CMA, evaluate the property, and then put it into a formalized letter to let people know not just the homeowner, but also they can use that when they go through mediation or through court. It will also help if you have that up front, like really up front. So that way you, even when you're in trying to establish your temporary order, sometimes it's even a good thing to have that BPO, that price analysis. The difference between what I do and what an appraiser does is an appraiser is going to take the best 3 comps that have closed, maybe 4. They may dive deeper and give you 4 best comps if you're real lucky. But that's all that it is. It's an evaluation of 4 comps that have closed. From a broker standpoint, we know that market value is more than just what has closed. So I will evaluate what is active on the market for comparison purposes. I will also look and see what is currently under contract that's a comparable, because those that are under contract and sitting in pending status will be my closest comp, in the next 90 days, so to speak, 30 to 90 days.
And divorce can take a year or longer.
Take a while. So it's important for us to know not just what has closed in the last 30 days or 60 days or even 90 days. It's look at those comps, but I drill down way deeper and I look to see, okay, what are my active listings and what's sitting under contract. A lot of times I will even reach out to the agents that have those properties to understand even further what is their time on the market been, what is their activity been, and getting feedback. All of that content, then I can put it into my analysis, so it's much deeper. So a couple of other points. It's been said on average that a property owner or any person actually knows on average 7 real estate agents. You can probably think of 1 or 2 real estate agents and their contacts in your phone easily to turn to. Well, not many people in my experience have appraiser friends saved as contacts in their phone. Not as many appraisers known. So the accessibility to pull in a real estate professional is going to be an easier, faster, and it is also much cheaper. You can either get one for free, or some agents will charge a very small fee to provide that document to you, not knowing whether they're going to get the listing or if they, are just providing it for you to have a substantial document going into the mediation to determine value. So, but regardless, it's faster, it's cheaper, and it's way more insightful.
Right, absolutely. Now, I've seen the broker opinion letter and I read through appraisals on a very regular basis. Appraisals look like gibberish to a lot of people. We actually teach classes on how to read appraisals.
They're lengthy.
They've got lots of things, and they don't always take into consideration your upgrades and comparison to other homes and stuff and what your home would actually sell for. So, and appraisals around here are typically around between $500 and $600.
Oh, at least. Yeah, at minimum, you're gonna be lucky if you can come out for only $500-600. So yeah, it's a big price differentiation. I mean, we're generally, if you find a real estate broker that's going to charge for something like this, one, they're probably going to be more experienced because you're not just taking a CMA. You take it a step further and get that letter of evaluation. That's the broker price analysis or option. And so, yeah, you've got a more knowledgeable broker perhaps that's working for you. But you can get out of it probably about $350 or so. And you're looking at, you can probably get that document within the week as well.
Exactly. And so one of the other things that we talk about on here is when you're building your team out, you want true professionals. You don't want somebody who's never written one of these before, who's never actually had to be a part of a mediation term or, just any of those things.
One of my taglines is experience matters, and it absolutely does. So you've got to have a partnership, a pool of professionals. Go into this. Listen, there's a lot of people, and you've probably heard it as well. This is not going to be treacherous for us to walk through. We are both friendly. We're going to have we're going to set the stage for how well a divorce is going to go, right? We've heard that a few times. Here's the reality though. Once you're in it, even though both parties may be amenable to this, you're still seeking your best, and maybe your children's as well, but your finances are at stake. There's a lot of emotion, and it may not start early at the onset. There's a lot of emotion that flares during divorce time. And so it is important to have a good, strong pool of professionals, protect your finances, protect your credit, protect your assets.
And the fact of having a broker opinion letter instead of saying going to Zillow.
Oh boy.
And fighting over it. I've seen that 100 times during my consultations. Is that you've you've asked somebody for an opinion and you have a fact.
Yeah, it's factual.
It is a fact.
You can't take a Zestimate into court with you. They won't consider it.
Right. So you have a fact, you have numbers you can use in agreements, which is why this is something that you want to do. Even if it is the best divorce, you are best friends, you're going in hugging, you're leaving hugging. I don't know how that would work with a divorce, but if it is, it's still getting the facts. And so this way you're not working with estimates. And I mean, I have seen so many people try to use the Zestimate on Zillow or the whatever other all these other websites are, all these estimates. But if you go to them for the exact same address, you've got a $80,000 swing sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Well, and again, it's important if you can to get this document early and upfront before your temporary order, if possible, because that temporary order could be in play for quite a while. So there are some couples that are going through divorce that you get the temporary order in place, and then you know, decisions are having to be made, and then you're going into mediation. But that temporary order is going to be in place until you get to the finish line, and either you sign your mediation papers or a judge makes a determination. So again, knowledge is very powerful. So just as early as you can, get connected with a lender who can help you be advised on the financial side of it, and a real estate broker who can be a huge advocate. And we don't have to swing one way or another. We don't have to play it. All that the broker is doing is truly setting the stage for what the value of the assets are. And that can be it should be a very neutral, opinion. You know, I mean, I'm just setting the stage for what the asset's going to sell for. I'm not picking sides in either case as to who's going to listen. The attorneys do their job really well. We're going to let them decide on what the equitable division of everything is. But the document that I provide just sets the stage for what the financial gain could be, of what the value is, so to speak.
And so we use, and when I'm creating a divorce mortgage planning report. So again, we do this before you ever start with writing up any kind of agreement. We sit down with the divorce mortgage planning report. We go over options, what a loan assumption would look like. But when we're looking at refinancing, or even nobody wants the home, you've got to sell it, but can you get a mortgage afterwards? When we're making those plans, we're using a good valuation, because and a lot of people are like, well, let's just get an appraisal. We'll just use that for the mortgage later. We can't.
No, it'll be timed out.
Yeah. So we have, because appraisers go with the most recent closed comps, and you've got all these comps under closing, appraisals are only typically good for 120 days. So by the time you get around to where you're able to refinance and do the equity buyout, it's timed out. And plus, when you're doing a mortgage, you have to actually start the process and order an appraisal through a third party vendor. I can't even call an appraiser today and be like, so that's not how it works.
You don't get to touch them.
No.
I get to have conversations with appraisers, and I enjoy doing that. But no, from the lending side, from federal law, you can't touch. You can't contact that appraiser. You can't handpick them either, like we used to do back in the day. Remember? Let me just point out some monetary reasons that you may want to sell. Consider selling versus staying in the home, right? That's always the toss up of, should I just stay in the home? Should I fight for this? Should I be stubborn? Like, this is my home, I'm staying here. Or is it a smart decision to just sell it and let both parties go their own way, and in that you both get a fresh start? I think that's probably the number one emotional reason why you would want to sell, is just for the fresh start. So let me kind of start with that. You know, through the battle of divorce, sometimes it really does carry a weight on it. In your house, you should love where you live. That is my mantra. You should love where you live. And if that place comes with some baggage or some heartache, then it may be good for both parties to just cut ties. So there's some emotional ties to it. But from a financial piece to it, let me just point out that even if you stay in the home during your temporary order and then even consider for afterwards, you've got, you've got repairs, that could potentially pop up. Say you stay in your home and you think, well, I'm gonna stay in this and then sell it after all the dust settles, then you're gonna be paying both sides of the commission in that. So you may win that house, refinance it, get it into your name, and a year later say, emotional baggage, I'm ready for a fresh start. Now I'm gonna sell it. One, now we're gonna go through a home inspection and all those repairs are gonna fall onto your shoulders, the financial piece to that. And then secondly, all the commissions, and it's still customary for sellers to pay both sides, the listing and the buyer's side traditionally. So all of that commission burden is gonna fall onto one party that stays in the house as well. If you do refinance, you're gonna be doing this, at a higher rate, perhaps. You're going to be buying out the other person if you decide to stay. So there could be, it's not just taking, absorbing the mortgage. It could be that you have to pay an equitable division to the other person. And now you're financing that into your name, and your payments could go up, and there's could be some financial burden. That's where
That's
sitting
the
down
mortgage planning report comes.
early and upfront, right? The upkeep, there's a lot of couples will share the expenses of upkeep. So then when you're taking it on just as yourself, then yard maintenance, termite bonds, I mean, all of the things then fall under your umbrella of responsibility. And so for some that can become overwhelming. And then let's see, cut ties from yeah. So that's a kind of going back to the emotional side. It's the money and the emotion. Is if you do sell it in that sale, then you're cutting the ties emotionally of that, but also financially with having that tie to them. So I see a lot of opportunity when you just decide to sell it. Once you know what that value is and you work through with the attorneys, don't sell before your attorney tells you that it's okay to timing to do that. But once that you have determined that, we do find that there are many, many cases where people make the decision to just start fresh. But you got to know, if you start fresh, what is that going to look like? So you can see why it's so instrumental to have a partnership with an attorney, a broker, and a lender. That threesome partnership is going to be incredibly valuable to you.
And so in this, I am a lender, but I am also a divorce mortgage planner. And so what we do is we take this valuation and your dreams and your consultation with your broker about, okay, am I going to stay here? This is what this is going to look like. And if you are going to stay, I'd recommend getting that home inspection, and let's
Negotiate.
let's negotiate all those things. But if you are going to sell, what is that going to look like? And so we need to know financially that you're going to have a place to live afterwards.
Yeah.
And so does that look like a house? Does it look like an apartment for a little bit? Does it look like one of these multiplex homes where you make some income off the others and keep one? So what we do with the divorce mortgage planning report is so much more than a lender. Is we're going to go in and say, okay, and what are you thinking about for alimony? Oh, that's not going to work. We're going to have to make it work so that after you make a plan with a broker and talking with somebody like Roni, who can sit there, give you a valuation, and also discuss what it could look like if you sold and bought, because a lot of times you don't know that either.
Yeah.
Because, okay, if I want my kids to stay in the same type of home or same area or whatever, same schools, somebody like Roni can sit there and say, okay, so when that time comes, we're going to need a purchase price of $450, $500, $1.1 million, whatever that happens to be, so that then we can make a plan for that when the divorce is final, or after that settlement agreement is done, you can sell the home and decide to move on.
So Kellie, you kind of umbrella over all of it. As the planner in this, you have attorneys that you can turn people to that are well experienced, very you know, going back to just the partnership that
Yes.
everybody has, but you kind of, if they start with you, you can kind of umbrella over all of this and pull together that pool of professionals.
Exactly. And
So-
I recommend getting a broker opinion as soon as possible so we can
Yeah.
pull all of it together.
Yeah.
And when you're talking to somebody like Roni, who's also been through the divorce process and understands the emotional piece to it too, we tend to be a little bit gentler
Yeah.
and have a lot of understanding. I actually sat here with a gentleman yesterday. They're under contract to sell their home and have written a divorce decree, but I didn't get to talk to him prior. The way the divorce decree is now written, his purchase price, what he thought was going to be 500, we're only going to be at 300.
Oh, wow.
And he left here really upset, but what's done is done.
Mm-hmm.
And so if he would have gotten to all of us a little bit sooner, then we could have helped plan and mitigate some of that.
Yeah. Male or female, it doesn't matter. You need to plan, protect your assets, know financially, we all work too hard to
Mhm.
leave anything on the table at the conclusion of divorce. I mean, nobody goes into the relationship thinking that it's ever going to happen that way. So we're super sensitive to that, but at the same time, we want out of it what is in our client's best interest.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what we're seeking, and so we can brainstorm and mastermind around that to achieve it.
All right, so I think that gives everybody a really good idea of what all of this looks like. Now, little story time. Have you ever experienced a couple going through divorce and they list their house and somebody goes, I'm not leaving, or they mess up the home or anything like that?
Oh yeah, that's not that uncommon, actually. And again, it's just the emotions really bubble up, and there becomes a very spiteful nature in people that otherwise is not ever present, right? And so, yeah, that happens. And, on the way out the door, if you can get them out the door, then it's not, the property's not left in as great a condition as it could and should be.
So that's also why you get your people involved to help make sure, because divorce attorneys, those divorce decrees are what? They can be anywhere between 13 and 40 pages long.
Yeah.
And the divorce attorneys are the ones dealing with every single little piece of that. So when you bring in your team to support, you've got a broker who can say, oh, by the way, when I met with them, I don't think that person's going to leave. We may need
Right.
some writing about.
Or two, what the property was at the onset. If you're waiting 30, 60, 120 days after one filing, one person has filed, then that spiteful nature, listen, it doesn't take long before the property can go downhill. And so, yeah, if they start becoming spiteful and taking it out on the property itself, now you've got the property can start devaluing the longer that it sits there in that care of that person. And so, yeah, it becomes a problem. So yeah, if you can get that property analysis early, then we can state what the value was at that time, early in that date.
And the divorce mortgage planning piece is that I help with some of that wording so that it allows a mortgage to go through later. So that, because I'm going to look at your divorce decree, whether you get divorced last month or 5 years from now, if there is any kind of mention of child support or anything like that in your loan, when I put on the lender hat, I mean, we're going to see it, and we don't want those things to stop you from getting a mortgage. And we see it all the time where somebody can't get a mortgage because instead they got a lump sum buyout instead of monthly alimony. So that's where we come in to really work with that. We'll even bring in a financial advisor. We can help bring in the home inspector who can say, okay, these are the repairs that are probably going to be needed prior to closing. So when you lean on professionals, we have more professionals that can make it sounds like a lot of money, but when you spend just a little bit of money up front, it can save you thousands
Yeah.
in stress, time, and money.
And you really, I guess the message is you don't have to be in this alone,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, even if there's a consideration for where do I turn, who do I talk to, is this even an option for me? That's where Kellie is probably one of the most sensitive people that I have ever, and confidentiality. I mean, you're committed to confidentiality, as am I. It's just under our license, we have to be, but in our nature and character, it is as well. And so there shouldn't be any level of concern coming to either party, but start with Kellie, and have an understanding about what it is and cry in her office. Tell her what is going on, and she can help lead you, guide you through it.
Yeah, we actually were on a call with a bunch of my other divorce lending professionals earlier today, and one of the girls goes, well, first things first, every meeting just starts with a hug because everybody needs that. And that's just kind of,
Yeah.
when you get into this, it's really about helping people because divorce was hard
Yeah.
for me. I made so many dumb decisions and I knew what I should have done.
Well, it's, who's ever met with an attorney? I mean, I met with an attorney 3 years before I actually filed for divorce, just to get some understanding around what that would look like, right? What I didn't know then is to also meet with a divorce planning specialist to get some understanding. It's not all legal. It's a big part of it's financial as well.
And pull in your financial advisor is another person that needs to be a part of your
The
full
conversation.
team.
Yeah, it
And the
is a team.
conversation.
It is a team.
So we work together as a team. We are here to help during one of the toughest things anybody will ever go through. Never, ever do we wish it on anybody. But unfortunately, it is a reality for many people.
Mhm.
And so make life easier on you. Bring in professionals to handle your money, and all of your details of your stuff, your financial life, so that you can focus on healing and your personal
That's right.
growth.
It's about making good decisions as you journey through this. Well, thank you, Kellie, for having me join you today. And I have to say, if either one of us can be of value to you, I guess you'll share our contact information.
Absolutely. We're going to put it all in the bottom in the show
Okay.
notes and on the link. And so take a look at this. We're going to probably do one or two more of these in the future, just because I adore having Roni near me. And thank you so much for participating today.
My pleasure. I'll be happy to.
Bye, guys.